Welcome to another News Game Plus. I'm Dermie as usual, and I'm here with a man who's on a whirlwind tour of Australia, New Game Plus executive producer Jason O'Callaghan. Welcome back.
I've been back. 18 hours maybe? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh no.
Someone said that. You said I've been back 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot.
Yeah. No, I take it back. It's about 36 hours, but I slept for most of it. Yeah, but no, it was good. Japan's always good. I went over for Jack's birthday, who's now 30. He probably doesn't want me bringing that up all the time, but
yeah, he's too old.
I know he listens. So
no more TV for you, Jack.
Yeah. The Gemini's handy as well, and truly red.
Trying to get renewed.
And so I'm glad someone actually gets that. You know how often I use that, and people just look at me like I'm.
We used to watch it on TV every night.
Yeah.
Back when they used to go continued next week, they'd have a cliffhanger and you literally had to wait a week to see what happened in the show. You couldn't just go, oh shit, click next.
That was always a funny part of, like, especially mini-series, because what happens when you put two movies back to back night after night, it's called a mini-series.
Oh yeah.
It was, yeah.
Remember that when Who Shot JR and all that stuff, where basically that was between seasons and the whole world lost its mind.
Well, the South Park did that with who was Cartman's dad and stuff like that.
And Simpsons did with who shot
which was, to be fair, a direct reference to JR, right?
Yeah.
Like Who Shot JR. So
yeah, but that was real. It wasn't a dream, was it?
No. The dream is probably the worst. Yeah. for those who are watching Dallas in 2025. But no, it's been good. And then I'm off to Denmark in 2 weeks, so we'll hopefully pump 2 or 3 out before then, and then we can use them as backlog.
Welcome to Australia. It hasn't changed much, although
I must say that it's been interesting. When I was in Japan, there in election season, and I was walking through Ikebukuro, and there was the Japanese Communist Party had a bus. They're giving out speeches on the thing, and they had a decent little turnout for the Communist Party in Ikebukuro.
Yeah, communists don't do well in Japan.
If they do,
get stabbed.
If they do too well, they let the monster of Showa, the person responsible for all the Manchurian deaths, out, and then his party forms government for the next 70, 80 years. Nothing sus, nothing to do with the Americans.
Weird.
Because Americans don't interfere in the governments of allies, I'm told.
No.
By the way,
only Russians do that.
By the way, Albo is a communist because he dared to say that Australian foreign policy needs to distance itself.
Well, somebody will be making a call right now on the red phone to the Governor General.
Yeah, it's so insane, and that's what that's the reason I brought up the Communist Party, because I came back to this. I came back to Tim Wilson's brother trying to push.
If you got more than $3 million in super, it's a very bad time for you in Australia.
You might have to pay an extra $2,500 tax. Yeah,
apparently I'm supposed to care, but geez, they've been pushing that hard, and there's a lot of bullshit going on right now. Don't watch media.
Sharma was pushing, but the investment vehicle for small, and as soon as they realized that was sinking like a lead balloon, it's like, it's not an investment vehicle. Sharma's just shut him down and said, it's not an investment vehicle, it's a retement vehicle.
That Dave Sharma, that'd be the least stupid thing he's said.
Yeah, he's such a dodgy prick. But anyway, moral story is I came back to Australia.
Are we supposed to preface that with in our opinion or something?
No, I just think he's a dodgy prick. And it's a genuinely held belief, and that's a defensible position. But no. Anyway, that's what I came back to.
Dodgy pricks later, so we'll save that. I got a few items on my list of dodgy shit.
Yeah. Well, I was in Japan playing a bit of.
Yeah, talk about Japan. Our listeners love Japan. Every time Japan comes up, we hit hundreds of listeners, which is a lot for us. We're not very big. We're not exactly Joe Rogan. But if we don't talk Japan, our listeners drop off and go, "What's this shit?" Yeah. So go Japan.
Yeah. So it was the couple of things where I nearly finished Pikmin 4. I'm just doing the last of the 100%ing it now. Very good game, Pikmin 4. I just wish there was online co-op, and there wasn't, and it's just a thing. Switch 2 is a decent bit of kit. I don't know if you've seen the power tests on it and stuff like that. It is more powerful than a Steam Deck. That's why the Steam Deck 2 is no doubt imminent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's got more juice than a Steam Deck, they reckon.
Yeah, well, I knew it had a bit, because when they said the Switch 1 emulation was being done purely software, we have the hard power in there.
Yeah, exactly. And the emulation works really well. So when I was playing Pikmin 4 in it, is the load times are...
It's actually power. Is it mostly AI bullshit like NVIDIA is doing?
I don't think it is. I don't see the usual kind of artifacting.
Because I don't get what NVIDIA is doing. All this AI stuff, where we're filling the frames between the thing with AI. You go, well, in the old days, we used to just
brute force
frames in.
Yeah.
So, there's actually other ways to do that where it's actually not averaged.
Yeah. It's like saying here's the when you go to like a fish and chip shop and they got like the plastic strips over the door. It's like, we made a door for you, but why didn't you just put a door in? No. But it's the same as a door, except it takes less resources. I'm like, but it's not a door. You know what I mean? Like,
now bring back interlacing.
everything starts flickering the second you try and film it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Japan was good otherwise. I did Tokyo Disney Sea for the first time. Tokyo Disney Sea was surprisingly not shit. I didn't enjoy it as much as Universal Studios, but I definitely did enjoy it more than I thought I would. Because I'm not a Disney guy. I don't like Disney stuff.
Disney's for people that haven't been happy since they were 12.
Pretty much. And so,
So I love Star Wars and I love Disney stuff. Yeah, no, you're just still a child.
yeah.
Sorry.
Which is, I mean, look, again, but I mean, that's a bigger conversation. You want to get political again? That's a conversation about the removal of milestones and adult milestones and all that kind of stuff. And it's easier to retreat into infantilization than it is to.
Hey, they'll complain about it, but then the corporations love it.
Yeah.
They're going,
Well,
yes,
I did, one thing I did notice even in Japan is a lot less rainbow corporations this year. They're not willing to do it now that Trump's in. They're not willing to.
yeah, they've been abandoned all over the place.
Yeah.
So Pride Month became very
low key.
like
again.
we live in Middle East.
Yeah, it was a very
Actually,
quick transition, huh? Very quick transition. But like, no, it was very quick. I mean, it was only a year ago that they had a proper. When I say proper, like they had a big Pride march and everything, and they were debating whether to let coppers in. And now it's just they've got to keep that shit low key. Like you don't want to, you might get run over in the fucking streets. Like, yeah.
Well, the tone of everything changed significantly, and we're only 6 months in.
So
strap yourselves in.
So, and it is interesting. Like I said, talking about Japan, it was interesting to see how. Yeah. So the worst thing is, like, I've been talking about buying a house there for years, and my only regret is not doing it earlier. But now the vultures are circling, and the vultures are realizing there's no money to be made. So now there's like a second wave of chance to make your money, like back to buy a good value property. Because people put
all the Airbnbs tanked, did they?
They're all real. Well, I mean, the only ones who can afford to do it are the Chinese, right? Because they can just send someone over to live there and manage their business. And
they're best buds.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll get to that in a sec. But
we don't have to. It's
we don't want to get cancelled straight away. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. And then see now I'm seeing like all this. Oh, we bought this place, but it's not really suitable for purpose. And what purpose did you think it was suitable for? Oh, it doesn't matter.
Airbnb.
And all the cheap house groups are just getting nasty, and they're just like, we don't want scabs. Get out of here, scabs.
Didn't they put in some law in Japan to restrict the amount you can spend?
180, yeah. So you cannot to do anything more than, I think it's like one half or 1/3 structural fixes, except for roofs, because obviously roofs are one of the first things you'll need to fix if you buy a house over there. You need to get extra permissions.
So you just can't buy a cheap place and do it up,
knock it down. Yeah, pretty much. Yep. And so if you're doing any structural fixing, it needs to hit a certain standard. The rules on Airbnb is 180 days a year, 180 days a year, 90 days. No, 90 days a year. It's 90 days a year, so you can do it for 3 months. You have to have someone managing it, all that kind of stuff. There has to be a full-time management person there at any point. So
yeah, because that was a little gold rush of cheap properties in Japan. There are a lot of very well priced properties in Japan.
Yeah.
But unless you're, unless you're prepared to like go there and enjoy it, it's sort of like, well, as an investment, I wasn't sure how to go, because if you think you're buying these cheap properties in Japan, you can buy cheap properties in Australia, but they're going to be like in Ararat or something.
Yeah. So I mean, so for example, my sister, I know when she bought her place up in the, like, right on the border between kind of Swan Hill and Mildura kind of area. Even then it was like a small parcel of land, but even then it was still nearly $200,000.
Yeah, that's cheaper than Melbourne, but the cheap place in Japan, you're not talking like suburban Tokyo.
No.
So
that said, if you can find apartments, if you look in the right spots, you can find apartments in Tokyo that sit at about between 70, I would say 60 to 100,000 all done. And when I say inside Tokyo, keep in mind that's the Tokyo metropolitan area. So from the center of what you would consider the Tokyo area, it's probably 45 minutes on the train. Now you show me somewhere Melbourne's actually different. Melbourne, you can actually find places for 150 grand, Box Hill, Carlton.
Yeah, I saw one that it's got a fold-up bed. I've never actually seen in real life a fold-up bed.
Like a Murphy bed, they call them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen them on sitcoms, American sitcoms. So they got that. But I think they're around the Box Hill area. They're like a nurse's accommodation and that. And I think there's been a change there because there's definitely cheaper stuff there.
It was student accommodation. So when they cut the student numbers, you notice I said Carlton, which is the top end of RMIT.
Yeah,
like you go down Swanston Street, you're RMIT. Clayton, what's that other one? Box Hill, places like that had these big A, Chinese communities, and B, student communities nearby.
Yeah.
All the one bedrooms that they were using for student apartments don't qualify anymore.
Oh well, it's big change. Hey, the other thing in Japan, are they over tourist yet? Because I'm seeing a lot of videos.
You said, "Oh, we don't have to talk about it," and now we're talking.
Yeah, I've seen. Tell me if it's true. I've seen a lot of videos of American wankers doing things like going into the all-female train cabins and just being lunatics for TikTok sort of views. And then I saw a sign that suggested that you can't go into a store unless you can speak Japanese.
Two prongs.
Is the tourism changing?
No, and this not changing. It's just the Americans get more brazen because the lower. How do I say it? I don't want to say the lower class because I don't look down on the financial class of people like that. But the people who were fucking idiots in their country can now afford to be fucking idiots somewhere else. Like the kind of fucking idiots were
like the Bogans in Australia go to Bali.
Correct. The Logan Paul level rich can always buy their way out. They can always buy a lawyer. They can always get what they need to get out of the country and avoid any kind of ramification. But now you're getting the people who can't. So you're getting the people who are doing time in jail. Like you just seen, Johnny Somali did time in Japan. Now he's doing time in Korea, right?
Yeah, I actually support if countries want to lock up influencers that turn up and be idiots. I fully support their right to lock them up.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, I mean, we when that year that Kick tried to buy out PAX, we basically had a rule: if any Kick streamers came into the venue, we'd kick them out.
Hey,
if they wanted a reason, or we just turn around and say you're a Kick streamer, we don't have to give you a reason beyond that.
Reminds me, Kick's Twitch, isn't it?
No.
Okay, I
Kick is the anti-Twitch. When I say
okay, I heard we can look at this after, right? I've heard a story that Twitch is providing Kick with all its platform basically.
Not really.
That's just something that I heard.
Not that I know. Okay, well, because so those who don't know, Stake is an Australian gambling company that owns Kick, and Kick is a streaming platform that takes on Twitch.
I think Kick and Twitch
we're about to merge.
No, I not merge. I think they have a closer link than what people.
I mean, I wouldn't die of shock if
just something I'd heard through the grapevine. I know you have better context than me, but it's.
I mean, I haven't heard that. We've fallen out of favor with Twitch, but we're definitely not as close to them as we were. But
it's Twitch falling out of favor with everybody though, because I don't see much excitement around Twitch.
Because it just became what every porno site becomes, just boring. Like you only go there if you don't get me wrong, Twitch still has a platform, and if you've managed to curate a community of a couple of hundred, it's sustainable. You can do that as your full-time job now. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've got 200 to 500 people watching, even in Australia, that's enough to live. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, assuming they're subscribing, you get $5 of that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's why we never got those subs in New Game Plus, because neither of us have got great teeth.
I mean,
so we just couldn't build the audience.
We lost our best ones,
and
I'm not saying.
And it doesn't work the same, because if a guy goes out and says I want to bang 1,000 women in one day, I mean, if someone like Bonnie Blue does it, then you got all these weirdos turn up and say, yeah, I'll be in that. But women don't tend to be as into that as men. It's like turning up to bang a random guy. Go, I'll be 900th.
Just line up. But imagine.
So we weren't able to build our audience. I mean,
there's a physical limitation to that. Like after the 900th one, I'm like, what are you literally one thrusting into everyone? Just like,
actually, no, my wife was doing the maths.
Yeah,
she was annoying me at this for ages. She's going, no, but if you do it in one day, that's this many hours and this many people. That means each one's got like 40 seconds or something. Yeah, and she goes, what are you doing? You can't. And I'm going, do we have to talk about this? But she spent a lot of time working it out. That's what you get for marrying a scientist. She couldn't just look at it and go, that's kind of a bit icky. She just had to go, I'm doing the maths and working out, and then I'm going to have a big discussion with my husband about the logistics of it.
Talk about something over dinner. It gets boring otherwise. Yeah, you can't just talk about the weather every day.
Well, my son and daughter got their heads in their hands, going, is this happening?
Yeah. It's like if it's like you just bring up how wet it is out there today, and you know where it's going to end up, right? Like.
The number of times I've had to explain things. Anyway,
anyway, look, to go back to the original point, to cap it off quickly. Yes, there's more dickheads. The first thing you do,
more. That's just a general thing. That doesn't link to anything.
Just remember whenever it comes to it, if they say, "Oh, where are you from?" Australia. Just remember Australia, and they will chill out.
They seem to like us.
even more than the Americans, and I think it's a respect thing, but it's also obviously there are wanker Australians in Huckleberry and Nisiko, and that's not to say all of them are, of course, because not all Australians are wankers, but Jesus, they attract some wankers out there. And the second one is, yes, if you go past some restaurants, it will say no reservations available today, but then if it's in Japanese, it'll say if you speak Japanese, please inquire within. And so I've had that happen when I walked in. I'm like, no. I said, you're me on the gashimasu. Like, it was basically quick getting before the other fucking whitey see you. I was like, and then basically it's like, because we could speak Japanese, we were
Japanese with an Australian accent. So
my Japanese, my pronunciation's good. My actual knowledge is shithouse. I can fake it till I make it.
My daughter's learning Japanese, and she'll walk around the house talking Japanese stuff. And it sounds like I'm in an anime. Strawberry. What that? Pick things up and just say it in Japanese because she's trying to learn.
Good idea.
It's kind of cool.
But yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. And my last one, going back to the point about cheap houses, I think, and I've said this for a long time.
I already forgot about that.
I think high speed rail is is a panacea to two things. It's a panacea to the connectivity of cities. It's a way to revitalize the regions in the same way that in a reverse kind of osmosis that the Japanese have at the moment, where everyone's flocking to Tokyo. But I think if you had a reverse brain drain here, you could definitely do it. I think that's how you solve house prices, is you open up the ability for people to live in Bendigo and be in Melbourne in 45 minutes, and people will live in Bendigo.
Yeah, I would support high speed rail, but I've got Qantas shares. No, I don't really.
So, but that's the reason. That's the reason. It's like Albo previously Labor couldn't piss off Qantas that badly, and
should have let it
the Libs never wanted to. Yeah, I mean,
and just nationalised it.
I think that's what they'll do with Rex. They won't make the same mistake with Rex. Rex will be. I think they've national. Like they bought the stock and they have to be bought back out or something.
Yeah, but they got like propeller planes.
But it's for the regions.
It's World War II.
It's for the regions.
If you ain't plane with a jet,
it's a good way to get those national voters on side who vote 70% towards David Littleproud. So
I'm not sure national voters think too hard about their vote. I don't think it's swaying.
One for the country kids that's out there is the hunting in state forests and national forests has been expanded. So there's a few different new.
America's selling theirs off.
Yeah. So in Australia, you can now go hunting for deer in more places because the deer have gotten into these critical places and they want people to shoot them and get rid of them. Because keep in mind, the deer are a pest species, as are horses, as are foxes, as are rabbits, as are goats.
Oh, dear.
My personal stance is that they should all be shot and gotten rid of because we should bring back natural wildlife.
Well, there we go.
Well, I mean, all the Brumby mums who are listening now just turned off because they believe that, but they have the horses call back their heritage to the Light Brigade. Shut the fuck up.
I have a customer who...
I believe it. Yeah. and let me get...
Horse riding.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mel, if you're listening.
I'm honest. I hate horses, but if you want to own them as pets or as basically free tractors, because that's what they were. That's the reason that there was an importance to them culturally. But the fact that the New South Wales government shot 6,000 of them to get them out of the Mount Kosciuszko is probably the only thing that Chris Minns has done that I've actually supported.
Actually, also Fiona from Facebook just threw her headphones across the room. So I don't know if you people like their horsies.
They're allowed to like them, but they should not want them to starve in Kosciuszko. They shouldn't want them to crush bilbies and all of our native species. If they really want to do it,
Bilbies are yummy.
How about what bill? No, you mean the Cadbury chocolate bilbies?
They're yummy.
I got it.
Are they a real animal?
No, yeah, of course they are. It's Australia, of course they are.
Other than they made it up.
Yeah, what a stupid name for an animal with a stupid long nose and marsupial. Oh, wait, that's real. Okay,
could be.
Yeah. Oh, what's a numbat?
Oh, well, I just figured it was like when they took those fake platypus things back to Britain 200 years ago.
Yeah. They stuck some turtle bits onto a duck. Yeah,
I just figured it was a chocolate version.
Yeah. No. Bilbies. Yeah, I'm big on native species. I'm big like that, so I'm very much in favour of all that.
Kangaroos are yummy too, actually.
Kangaroo is yum. I did
yum.
take my Japanese friend they came over and visited
yummy.
Before I flew, and I took him to Healesville and stuff, and I said, now you get to eat them.
Witchetty grubs aren't bad.
Yeah, they're a bit gushy for me.
Yeah, then when I was in Scouts a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I've eaten any other.
Well, because the thing with witchetty grubs is bogong moss. You don't get bogong moss anymore. Too much Roundup in the soil. But yeah,
remember Sydney Olympics and there was just moths everywhere.
Yeah.
Remember Vuvuzela? Is it one of those World Cups? Anyway, I'm just tripping now.
Who the fuck blew that plastic trumpet?
Hey, do you want to do video game
Yeah,
stuff?
let's talk
'Cause
about
we've
video games.
almost gone 20 minutes. But so your
we
Japan,
covered Japan. It's fine.
your Japan trip was good. The property market is calming the fuck down, which is
Yeah,
good.
and I think it's
If
still
you go there,
yeah.
don't be a dickhead because it ruins it for everybody.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, you're not supposed to eat and walk because the Japanese have a time for walking and a time for eating, but they don't really give a shit. That's the kind of shit they don't care about. But wait in line if you're expected to wait in line. Like, try and keep your voice down on the fucking train. Don't talk on the goddamn fucking phone on the train. Like that was a big one. That was a bad one.
Surely you take your cue from what you see around you.
Nah, because there's a certain race of nationality of people who believe that they are the singular best country on the planet and that everyone wants to emulate them, that their way is the best way, and they won't take that fucking hint.
Does it start with I?
No, but that's an interesting one as well, because I mean, but they're at least smart
More
enough.
people just turned off.
They're at least smart enough to keep their head down and fit in. And
Not right now. I saw some videos of them abusing the hell out of some Japanese people who are protesting. But anyway, so you mean C then? It starts with C.
What, Canada? No, it's definitely Americans. The Americans, get off the goddamn phone.
There's other countries start with C.
That's true.
Yeah, Cubans.
Yeah, Cuba. Yeah.
Hey, did you see they've been banned from America's holding the World Cup next year in Cuba, and Cuba's been banned
Because they
from
can't.
going.
Yeah.
And some other Senegal, I think, as well, has been banned from going. But anyway, I mean, this probably saves them getting sent home, or to some rando prison in Central America.
Yeah. Suddenly we're in El Salvador. Yeah.
Aren't they having fun now? They can finally be the people they always wanted to be. Yeah. So no pretending now. Mask is off. Games. Well, let's do some games.
Speaking of mask off, are we going straight into the big one?
Well, yeah, I'm going to try and weave a story here, like the great man himself. But we'll start with Microsoft because we have to, because they have. Where do you start with? Okay, they laid off 9,000 people at this, and the day later they applied for over 14,000 H-1B visas.
Funny that.
So there was all this big stuff about
that gives you a baseline understanding of how much they underpay H-1B visas, right? Because they still were able to put 5,000 more on, and it was in an advantageous position for the budget.
I've got to say that in a world where you've got ICE running around the streets in America, like kidnapping randos, even indigenous Americans, threatening to send them home, corporations are still by far the most racist entities on the face of the earth, because they will hire Indians purely to pay them less.
Yes.
And I mean, and I know Indians have said stuff to me like they got out of IT because the bosses just would never pay them more, because they basically said, you're Indian, you're not getting paid more. Now, that doesn't help us, like white people, because our pay, we lose the jobs. It doesn't help Indians either, mostly Indians for this one, because they're basically then brought in purely to exploit. It's incredible racism.
It's reverse osmosis colonialism, right? It's, instead of going over there and taking their best and brightest and taking their crops, you're taking their best and brightest and bringing them away from
the H-1B visas are tied to a single job.
Yes.
And then when that job's finished, they get sent home.
Yeah.
And it makes them extremely easy for US companies, especially tech companies, to exploit. That is a corporate racism. And the corporations like Microsoft and now that Google and all that do it as well, they fly under the radar on this, and they get too much of a free pass for what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and how long until they start paying in company script, right? You get paid in Microsoft dollars, you know what I mean? You get paid in
the early days of Microsoft.
Company script, you know, yeah.
The early days of Microsoft made, I can't remember the exact numbers, like several hundred billionaires actually came out of Microsoft, and 10,000 millionaires. And so that injected a lot of money in the economy. I was going to come to something later that's linked to this, but yeah, now you're just looking at basically a handful of hyper wealthy people who are basically looking at bringing in people purely to underpay them, and that's not good for anybody. And that really needs to be addressed more openly than it is at the moment.
This is an important part of the immigration conversation, even in Australia. It's not a matter of saying, oh, the damn X are taking their jobs. Like, no. the companies refuse to pay normal wages. That they will do anything to avoid.
It's not the
that.
person's fault.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
If you could come and work for 5 years here and earn more money than you would earn in 20 years.
Yeah. If I can go to India and earn more money than I earn here, and then come back and get good experience there, fuck, I'm going. And I have nothing against the people who do. I have nothing against. I've met so many Indian devs, and they are fantastic. And there was that AI startup that was fake that had 700 Indian devs that were basically pretending to be AI by quickly putting together software. Those guys were geniuses, right? So there's nothing wrong with them. They're good, right? And sometimes they can outperform what we can do. We as in
the royal way,
But the fact is that they're being used by the corporations to basically get out of paying money. And it's not their fault, because they've got every right to take what money they can. Yeah. Everybody does. Everyone's trying to make a living. It's a corporate. It's like in America where ICE is going around arresting people who look like foreigners, may or may not be, but not a single boss who is using them, exploiting them, has been arrested. And this is just a... Corporations are racist. Corporations are the biggest racists on this planet.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, and if you think of it, right? So you think of a lot of workers come over here. They work low thing. They'll. I mean, and I've seen the dodgy student visa ads and stuff like that. It'll be basically study MBA. You don't have to show up to classes. You don't have to do anything like that. We'll mark your attendance as there, but you can see all the scams that go on, right? But you think of it, they pay their rent, which is overinflated because it's Australia. They pay the basics they can to afford to live here while they're doing it, and then the rest usually goes home, right? The rest was
there was a big complaint while you're away. I can't remember, it was like the Libs or Nationals were complaining about $18 billion of money being sent overseas by workers, and no doubt to the subcontinent. Again, good on them, right? That's they've got their own lives, their own families to support. They are entitled to do what they want with their money. That's fine. It's the companies.
But that money doesn't stay in our ecosystem. Do you know what I mean? That is money that is lost from the...
Yeah, but if they hired local workers, that money would stay here.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, right? And so this idea that it should be cut the loopholes, because if anything they want to do, the Libs want to give the banks more power. That's always been the thing with the Libs.
They want to bring the overseas workers here, exploit them, and they're not allowed to take any of their money.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Company script, right? They how long before they're working on company script, and that is that conversation there with the Libs. You can't spend more than $10,000 cash in a single transaction anymore. You can't do it. Any more than $10,000 cash, and
you can't withdraw more than $5,000 cash, because I had to pay somebody and he said he wanted cash, and I said, I don't really give a shit. I'll give you tax. Cash. You see where I'm going with that one. And the bank refused to give it to me. I'm like, it's my money. And they said, no, we can't give you it. And I'm, all right, I'll come back in couple of visits then. Hey, all right, cool. The gaming element of this, LES 2 fixes. I think I said Adam Jensen.
Nice. I was going to say, here it comes. Yeah,
Adam Jensen. He went to Twitter about these layoffs at Microsoft, and he said, and it's quite an interesting part of it, because he was voice acting on Perfect Dark game, which is now cancelled as part of this, and he said, "quote thousands of dollars I expected and counted on are gone in a snap." Which is now he I don't know how he does with his other voice acting work, but for every voice actor and every person, that's the reality of it. So they're working on this. The game doesn't get launched. They can't even show it on their resume.
And so that's one of those things that
dead time. They wasted that time working on that game.
Yeah. I mean, this goes to that conversation around the value of buying Activision. The Bethesda buy, I still think the Bethesda purchase makes sense. I think it might still be a little bit overinflated.
A little bit,
but I think considering the products that come, look, ignore Starfield, because we know that
they thought Starfield was going to be way bigger.
We know that Todd Howard can't make video games, right? But even owning,
he used to be able to.
Disagree. I'm sure
Oblivion's good.
Yeah,
did he make Oblivion?
He worked.
Yeah, he probably.
He was a producer. Yeah, it was like.
So he probably Druckmaned it. He probably was just hanging around.
I'm pretty sure Druckman's pretty integral to Last of Us. I hate to break it to you kids.
He's a spastic.
I mean, that's fine. You're not allowed to say that. But that's,
I'm not allowed to say it. Sorry. More people leaving.
Yeah.
Druckman's an idiot.
You're allowed to say idiot, which, funnily enough, used to mean anyway. It doesn't matter.
No, Druckman's not. I don't know. I don't know why he's in any way considered. He should be considered like Todd Howard Todd Howard's a meme and basically a bit of a joke.
But have you played Indiana Jones?
The more, let's put it, say he's integral to Last of Us, but the more he has had his claws in Naughty Dog, the worse they've got. You think of Naughty Dog when it had Crash Bandicoot, then Jack and Daxter, Uncharted, and they'll bring out.
How much of that is Sony though? You got to remember.
No. He's got a lot of creative control. The more powerful and the more famous he's gotten, the worse Naughty Dog has gotten. And now they released the same game like 5 years in a row.
But that's Sony again. This is what I'm saying. I think you're prescribing it to the wrong thing. You can hate the creative
their creative's gone.
You can bullshit. Last of Us 2 was a masterpiece.
One game.
Bullshit. Look, but that's Sony. That's Sony saying you're not allowed to do anything but make the same game again, or you have to make a live service game. And we know that. We know that that's the case.
So Druckman's basically made like one game forever. He's turned into Todd Howard. Why isn't he viewed like Todd Howard, who released Skyrim non-stop for 10 years?
It's the opposite problem. You can clearly see that Sony has said we need to re-release Last of Us again and again and again. You can see that
he can do other things. What else are you doing with his time? How long does it take to remaster Last of Us?
But if they say we're not going to fund anything, and they did, they put all that money.
You tell me Naughty Dog has no money and no access to money.
They were making a fucking we know they were making a live service multiplayer game based on what Sony and
a Last of Us multiplayer game.
But then they turned it into a live service and then they cancelled it. So all that dev is gone. All that dev is wasted. That's why with like the Intergalactic, which doesn't look.
So you got a company that went from Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Daxter, Uncharted, and
so Crash Bandicoot, they don't even own anymore.
They are
Activision owns that.
They are the Pixar of video game companies. Once upon a time, everything was gold. And now,
but who fucked Pixar? Name the company that fucked Pixar.
Disney.
Disney. Yeah. It's the same with fucking Sony. You can hold way more of this over Sony. I'm a Helldiver. Do you think that I want Sony interference in any fucking game ever?
Pixar at least released other movies. But Druckman has released nothing. He's done 2 games.
Again, if they say to you, we will not fund anything else, and you are owned by us, and you're going to release what we take, the reason he went to the TV.
So why is he so famous? Why is he revered?
Because those 2 games are that good. They are that good. Like,
there's a lot of devs out there who've made 2 good games in their career.
Yeah. Okay. So Kojima's the same thing, right? Kojima went away, and Sony. He was smart enough to partner with Sony in a way that he gets to do whatever he wants to do, right? That was because he had that thing. But who signed that deal? Andrew House signed that deal. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't fucking Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan is the matric of Sony. 100% he's the matric of Sony.
You're saying Druckman he can't do anything for all his fame and all his influence.
If you want, he
can make a TV show though, but he can't make a game.
Have this conversation in 2028 when Intergalactic's meant to come out. I'll have the conversation. But right now, you cannot convince me that it's not Sony's singular-minded. We want to walk away from any new IPs.
So Intergalactic, he's making basically what looks like another shit Starfield.
I'm not excited for it, but like
nobody is.
Nobody is, and that's what I'm saying. It just looks meh.
But this is the studio that was producing every year a banger, like an absolute certified banger. Naughty Dog's strike rate for the first, for the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3, which is everything was gold.
Who stole all those IPs? Crash Bandicoot's owned by Activision now, so they don't even own that anymore, right? That's Activision because Sony sold that. Right, so again, you can dislike him all you want. I don't care if you like him or don't, but you can't lay this one at his feet. This is 100% corporate decision.
He's still in charge of Naughty Dog, isn't he?
He's not in charge of Naughty Dog. He never was. He's the executive producer on that game, but he's not the head of the studio.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just like hate him all you want. I don't give a fuck. But
I just don't think he's very good.
But that decision you can't pay. But you just hate you got to kill dogs in number 2. That made as soon as that happened.
Well, you're a psycho and you loved it. So
not loved it. It's just it made perfect sense.
If I made someone really sad.
If the world ends tomorrow and I'm walking down that street and there's 5 pit bulls between me and the end, there's going to be 5 dead pit bulls. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to put it out there, right? There's going to be 5 dead dogs before I get to the end of that street. It makes sense in context. And worst comes to say you pat the dogs, you just pat them with a knife.
He's overseen a studio go from easily the best video game studio in gaming to being.
I flip that though.
Basically now he's Todd Howard.
Okay, but he's not Todd Howard. Todd Howard gets given.
I wouldn't die shocked if this space game is basically Last of Us.
Todd Howard is the opposite problem. Space. Todd Howard is the opposite problem. He gets given way too much credit and way too much freedom He gets to make the game he wants to make, and it's shit. And it's always shit when he touches it, right? As soon as Todd Howard's involved, a game is worse, right? And you can say what you want about it, but he has the opposite issue. He gets all this freedom. It's Todd Howard, the better comparison is Miyamoto. Every time Miyamoto touches something in his senescence, it makes it worse. The Star Fox game on Wii U was worse because of Miyamoto's interference, right? That's the Todd Howard comparison. You want to make the Druckman comparison? Druckman is Dan Houser, right? GTA 6 is going to suck because two of Dan Houser's scripts got knocked back. And the Dan Houser, whether you like it or not, was a creative force behind GTA, right? All of those people left that studio because GTA got locked down by Take-Two. There's no way they're taking any risks. And it's the same with Sony. They are locking Naughty Dog down because they are the Last of Us dev, and that's the game that they're going to make. And that's it. Do you think they're going to let Rockstar North suddenly work on like random Rockstar games?
Table tennis game.
We don't live in that world anymore. They're not allowed to make table tennis or LA Snore or anything like that.
You mentioned GTA 6.
Is that your next one?
Well, no, because apparently 120 people were going to go back to Microsoft.
Yeah. No.
Because you're sad because I upset Druckman.
I just don't think. I think Sony gets. I'm surprised you're on Sony Defense Force on this one because I think this is probably their most egregious thing. Like people can rip on Phil for his handling of Microsoft, and I think Microsoft.
I don't think Phil did a bad job.
I think
it's that.
I agree.
It's going to sound racist, but that black chick, I don't know her name.
Bond.
Actually, I wrote her name.
Sarah Bond.
Sarah Bond. I got a quote from her later, and it's classic. Yeah. It's just so funny.
And then there's one above her. There's no. I think it's like Sarah Way or something like that, and they are 100%.
They're corporate.
Bond was brought in to push him out. Was to take over from him because he's going to resign soon, and then Way and Satya were pushing in from the top, going, "Where's our return on investment?"
Yeah,
and it's like
part of Microsoft's.
You can't just hire more Indian dudes to put Azure servers together. Oh wait, no, apparently you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's where we're at with that.
You know, Azure. I've been doing a bit of Azure stuff, and like AWS is overrated, but I use a lot of it in my stuff, and
yeah,
Azure is like. They didn't. It's not clever. So at least AWS, there's like messaging systems and stuff there. You can see they've done something. And they've basically
there's a back end to it.
They've just productized everything that Bezos wrote, 20 years ago when he was making Amazon, and you can see a lot of it is like 3 a.m. sort of ideas.
Yeah.
But Azure is just I don't know. Microsoft had to put something together, I guess. Now the story was. Okay, so 120 people got sacked from the Forza Motorsport developer.
Because Horizon is now the flagship product.
Yeah, so that's interesting because that's going to make my brother sad because he plays Forza Motorsport with these little car things. He's really full on into it. But so that's actually a big one to drop. I would have thought Forza Motorsport would have been one of their A titles.
The problem is Horizon did way better than they thought it would. Horizon has become the thing with it is if you want a sim racer, Gran Turismo for whatever reason still owns that world.
I hate this corporate thinking. That 80-20 rule. It's been the worst poison that ever entered corporate minds. Right? The idea that 80% of your products come from 20% of your people. So it only comes from, and it's like. That's like saying, oh, look, 80% of our goals come from our full forward in footy. Therefore, we should just have like 18 full forwards.
Get rid of the back line. Who needs a robot?
So, and we'll just like kick like millions of goals. And you go, okay, that's not how it works. Or like, if you got a cricket team, you go 80% of our runs come from the openers. So let's just have like 5 sets of openers and a wicketkeeper.
Let's have 5 Dave Warners and
So and that's that is just dumb. But anyway, so is that what Forza Motorsport? It looks like it might be dead, and that sort of flew under the radar, that news. But 120 people gone from that team. That's got to be a lot of the team.
So that's basically, from my understanding, it's Forza Motorsport done. And anyone that
sorry, Mark, you're not going to like that.
So Playground, I think they're called, do Forza Horizon. And Turn Left are now a Forza Horizon support studio because they know the engine, they built the engine. So,
it's a dumb idea. Okay, now.
So I mean, for your brother, iRacing is still huge. Assetto Corsa, there's a bunch of PC ones. I think it's time to transition. I can't recommend Gran Turismo to people. I just can't do it. I don't have it in my soul. I've always thought it's overrated.
Yeah, oh, it's fun when the first game came out. It was fun, but actually, I actually remember then I bought a memory card off the internet which had the licenses already done because it was shitting me so much having to do the license.
That's driver as well, right? Everyone hated that driving.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give me the Subaru and let me rip.
Talk about getting filtered, right? Getting filtered at the driving test.
I drive in some like Celica or something like around a corner and stop, and I can do that in real life. I can drive a shit car and run around the street. So no, give me this Subaru and just let me go, or one of the expensive.
Yeah, the Prius man is saying, "Let me go in a real car." By the way, like
I've owned 3 of them. So, but before that, Subaru. Anyway, so okay, here's a question I had because on the Microsoft thing, because I mean we said a bit about that. Microsoft thing's done. I'm going to get something else soon, but are we seeing the same? It's like there's so many layoffs and that. And because I might be wrong on this, you'll know more. We've seen so many Western game companies just like hack and slash.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not going to say is because Microsoft put out a memo to everybody, all their managers saying their staff have to use AI as much as possible because their staff weren't.
It's Google as well, I'm pretty sure.
Well, Microsoft did it, and they, for this purpose, right? And so, and they were also told their managers to performance evaluate their staff based on their AI usage. So they are pushing AI so hard. Now, here's a disturbing quote. I need to. I want to see this because this is magic, right? This is Microsoft. This is Xbox teaming with AMD for their next console because NVIDIA's lost their focus on AI. And this is what Sarah Bond said. State of the art in gaming silicon to deliver the next generation of graphics innovation to unlock a deeper level of visual quality and immersive gameplay and player experiences enhanced with the power of AI. I'm not sure if that was the Microsoft executive or ChatGPT that wrote that.
It sounds like ChatGPT. Or what's the Microsoft ChatGPT?
She released a video. She actually said those words. Now, so a lot
uploaded into her brain, Boston Dynamics style. Yeah.
So Microsoft is about to spend $80 billion on AI, and that's got to be why they've got rid of 9,000 people out of Xbox. It's an easy place to get rid of. They think they can AI all the game development. And they've bought in 14,000 H-1B visas because they're cheaper. Because and all the Indians are going to have to do is the joke is AI stands for actually it's Indians.
Yeah, actually Indians is
going to be doing
is our outgoing joke here. Yeah.
And I've heard stories about people in like they're using people in Kenya as well to train, and some of the stuff they're training people in Kenya on is like child abuse material and detection of that, which is freaking them out.
Say that, like I think it's 1/3 of every birth. So 1/3 of births by 2050 will be in Nigeria.
Nigeria is already like 300 million people or something, and it's way more developed than you realize. You think of it's
it's the brown filter on Mexico, right? Every time they cross into Mexico, everything goes brown. But if one thinks of Africa, they think of like war-torn Congolese.
Even Iran. You think of Iran as basically like stone huts. And
that country was 70 million people. It was the Persian Empire. It's the feet of the Persian Empire.
But the cities, like the capital cities, are actually you wouldn't normally know that they're not a capital city from somewhere else. The only place you really know the difference is China because their capital city is just lit up like mad at the moment. They're just showing.
They're all, and you can tell they're on the advertising pass as well because the amount of times I've got Chongqing train station on my feed at the moment because it's the biggest train station in the world.
Have you seen the Russian train stations? They're magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, but Russian rail network was always impressive. They had to be. That was how they went from an agrarian society to well, let's not talk about the revolution.
Meanwhile, the US ones have got people like shitting in the corners and that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Australian train networks. I mean, this is the problem. You try and make trains in Australia, and they call you a communist. So it's just you can't win, especially as Jacinta Allen. But then you can win because the Liberals are so dysfunctional that you'll just walk it in.
So my question about 80, they're spending $80 billion an hour, and they're having these cutbacks. And we've had these cutbacks. We talked about so many podcasts about the Western game devs, the Western publishers, just cutting studios and just. Is that same thing happening in the Japanese industry, or is this just a Western thing?
No, I mean it's but the thing with Japanese companies is because it's harder to fire people in Japan. As a general rule, it's harder to fire people in Japan than it is in the West. Like there's just no comparison, right? So like,
it's just that. So they don't seem as obsessed with AI.
No, they're not, and so it just becomes a question of
the bubble. When this AI stuff is found out to be all smoke and mirrors, it's going to be
Japan goes about it a different way. Japan has what they call dark companies, where basically is it dark companies or there's a term for it. And basically, it's if they don't want you, they'll put you in a role in this company that does nothing. It literally just spins wheels, and they pay you your minimum wage that they have to pay you. until you get so sick of it and just leave. You know what I mean? So they're just trying to find ways to counsel you out, but they can't just straight up fire you. They need to show cause. So they want you to be late. They want you to get sick of the place. They want you to apply for other jobs and then leave so they can just fire you. Do you know what I mean? So they'll like drag it out. They'll just drag it. That's how they do it. But at the same time, I know Japanese companies, they'll be celebrating, we sold 100,000 copies of our game, and that's enough for you to survive, your studio survive. I mean, that's great. That's a good place to be. We only 100,000 people bought it, and there's enough meat in that $3 million that we can pay our people and feed ourselves and play start the next game.
There's another thing I was going to say is I don't know if there's big in Japan, but I think one of the big culprits here, and this is generally for Western business thing, but definitely the gaming industry, is share buybacks.
Yeah.
And I think the
share buyback should be illegal.
When they legalized under Reagan, because Reagan's like most things shit in America.
Was it Glass-Steagall? No, Glass-Steagall was something different.
So share buybacks. If they weren't doing share buybacks up the company shares, so the execs can make hideous money, they would have to reinvest that money. So they would have to, when they make a profit, if they make billion, and they make billions. Yeah. Microsoft made several $1 billion profit, right? Then they would have to put that back into like in the old days, R&D. They would have to put it back into something, right? Instead of saying, we made a couple of $1 billion profit, bang, straight off the shareholders, many of whom are executives of the company, and then they start again with zero money. So unlike, you know how we joke about Nintendo having so much money in the bank, they can make a loss on consoles for 1,000 years. They'll start money. Whereas you look at, say, someone like Microsoft, they're not keeping money in the bank. There's a difference
between market cap and actual wealth, actual money. Yeah,
so they're not keeping any money in the bank. So they're not like a normal person has to save for a rainy day. They don't. They just go, hey, it's a bit short now. We want to spend $80 billion. We've made billions of dollars profit in the last 10 years, but we didn't keep any of it. We gave it back to shareholders.
Apple has a lot of cash. They don't do a lot of that share buyback stuff.
Yeah, that's because they can't repatriate most of the money. Correct. So they've been lobbying the US government to change the rules so that they can bring a lot of their money back on shore, so they can give it to their shareholders. But at the moment they're stuck with this money that they'd have to pay so much. So then they'll get what they want at some point. But that's with Apple, it's one of those things that happened a bit by accident.
Because it was the Irish thing. It was like
and the iPhone sort of moment, which every company now is looking for their iPhone moment, where they make something so earth shattering,
phenomenal,
that the company completely changes, right? And that's what happened there. But with Microsoft, they and all the Western companies, their share buybacks, they're giving away every time they get a profit, they're giving away. Then when they want to go and spend $70 billion buying Activision or $80 billion on AI, they don't have any money. Yeah. So then they go and do these stupid cost cutting, and then games are gone and everything. Now the share buybacks, this is where I was linking to Japan. Do they do that? Is that a culture in Japan, or is that just an American thing?
But I mean, usually if there is a layoff in that size, it is after a loss. To announce a multi-billion-dollar win, like a multi-billion-dollar profit, and then to announce layoffs would be met with big opposition, especially considering the nature of it's the upside down Japanese economy.
Well, didn't they have to apologize when they increased the price of chicken at the Family Mart?
But this is the thing. What's the old saying? There's 3 rules. There's 4 rules of economics. There's 4 laws. 4 types of economics: Keynesian, Friedman, Japan, and Argentina. Because Japan, for all intents and purposes, it should have washed out in the 90s when America flicked them with what did they do? It was they put the value of the yen against the dollar. So they basically ripped the value out of the yen and then fucked them over that way. Yeah. And so it wasn't the Paris Accords. It was
because Japan was at risk of being what China is now.
Yes.
Absolutely. And not just their little sort of like good doggo that they can rely on to make cool stuff. They were going to actually economically challenge US.
I mean, that was the point where
they would have had to nuke them again.
The real estate of Tokyo itself was worth more than the entire real estate of the United States or something at that point. You know what I mean? So, but it's an upside down economy. So Japan has all their interest rates are like either like 0.05% or something, 0.005%, because they want you to borrow money. It's impossible to get people to borrow money because they're a saving economy and everything's so cheap to live there by comparison. It's not a speculative. It's easy to survive in Japan. It's hard to thrive. It's hard to make money. Especially when you look at it from an export perspective, because the yen is so devalued again. It's hard to get money to come into Japan to invest because the return on there is not
which
there.
is why they turn to tourism.
Exactly.
Might regret a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So definitely different. I just hadn't seen the same stories coming out of Japan devs as I had out of Western devs.
don't get me wrong,
And I was wondering about it.
There are Japan dev horror stories. There's
Oh no doubt. It's not like a perfect land of unicorns.
But it's more than anything else. It's because the Japanese, and this is not a thing Japan kind of conversation, but there is an art to making video games that I think the Western companies really don't appreciate. And I think the companies that
use AI.
The Japanese companies, the Japanese companies that do well incorporate that into their core thing. Like, don't get me wrong, Capcom's in the business of making money, and was it not for Monster Hunter World, they'd be in a lot worse position than they are. But they still understand the value of that now. But they had that time when, like all these big names were leaving Capcom for that reason. There was no creative spark. There was like a lot of their ideas were getting shut down. They weren't doing the sales that they expected to do. Like when they started doing all this politicking is when it became more of a problem. But like I say, there's game companies that I follow whose games I enjoy that, we sold 100,000 copies of a game. We're so excited. We sold 1 million copies of this franchise over its lifetime. And they're so excited. And it's like, I'm glad that you can make that work. I'm glad you can make 100,000.
But if you do that and you're like Hi-Fi Rush or something.
You sell 3 million copies of Tomb Raider and it's a failure. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but because you didn't sell 5 million. It's like, but who said we had to sell 5 million?
But that was just an arbitrary number they told
Who said we had to sell 5 million, right? Yeah. Exactly, right? And so that is that thing.
The shareholders are hoping the money goes up because they're waiting for the buybacks to increase the price of the shares and they just don't care about the industry at all.
And that was always the thing. Like you could tell about the stock market. I mean, it's just legalized gambling in the grand scheme of things. But at least in the old days, you bought a product. You could buy a product because you believed in a product. You would buy into something because you go, you know what, I want to see these guys succeed. And that's how I felt about when Aussie Broadband floated on the market over here, right? Everyone knows I'm an Aussie Broadband shill. Head into our Discord if you want my referral number. But like I do that for free because they've always been good to me. I remember their customer service has been good, all that kind of stuff. Now it's a company, so I understand that it can always change at the drop of a hat, but they provided a service, it did the job. I was happy to support them. And then I wanted to buy in, didn't have the cash at the time, so whatever. So that's how the stock market, that's how they tempt you with the stock market. It works like this and, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't actually work like that.
I'm with AGL Internet because I got with my electricity and I regret that because I spent an afternoon on the phone a little while ago explaining to their tech people how IP addresses work.
Yeah.
The difference between a dynamic IP and a static IP and a public IP. And
I
couldn't believe it was happening.
The Nighthawk router that I'm currently using, a guy sat with me on the phone for an hour and a half. It's not their router, by the way. It's not their router, but I'd been a customer with them for 2 years since they started, and he sat with me for 90 minutes going through everything that could possibly be. In the end, we did what is it, 2020? Like we did the medium reset because it goes, obviously something's happened to it during an update, so it's set in this kind of limbo. So you want to go back to factory. Sat with me, did all that, and he didn't have to do that. And so as a reason, I'll stay with that person. And that is that thing.
Yeah, well, that's good service because I also had to try and get AGL's internet people to tell me how to set up. I got a Synology router, which I really like. All I needed was the settings. Just all in it, and they just couldn't do it. And I'm just saying, just read. Tell me what these values are. I'll read them out to you. Tell me what they are. And they're going, but it's not this router. I'm going, yeah, I know, but did you know they all work? They
work very similar. Yeah, work in a very similar way.
You just have to tell me what the numbers to put in is, and there's only like 2 that matter. Anyways. Don't use AGL.
Anyway, and Microsoft, boo Microsoft today. As someone who's been a big staunch advocate for Microsoft and
had some other stuff. We're closing in an hour.
And we got the Helldivers coming soon to Microsoft.
Yeah, that was my next.
Don't worry, I figured it'd be on.
That was the next thing. Yeah, so happy Xbox news. Sorry to Sony fans.
Give me my cross progression. I already own it on Steam. The reason I haven't played on Steam is because there's no.
It's going to be Belatro again.
If you buy, when it comes on Xbox, I will buy it on Xbox. But you can get them to do a once-off changeover, but the problem is I bought a Victrix controller to run on the PS4, and my Victrix controller for shooters is phenomenal but
they got crossplay, don't they?
Crossplay,
but not cross
progression. And so that's the problem is like the DualSense is dog shit for shooters, and the Xbox Series controller is just a wonderful general controller. Like it's not the king of all like the thing. I'd have to relearn because I've got macros set on the back of my Victrix, which I use for healing and for things. So I'd have to relearn my macros, but if I wouldn't mind transferring to Xbox and then maybe just buying a Brooks adapter and converting it.
Helldivers coming to Xbox in August. So
So yeah, that'll be good. More
they
divers
get
for the cause.
a lot of
We
Xbox
just, we
fans.
just finished. We just finished the Super S campaign, which was great, and it's good now. And then yeah, the only reason I'll stop playing Helldivers soon is because I'm going to be overseas and I'll be playing a lot of Death Stranding, which is obviously set in Australia.
Australia and Mexico with portals to get between them, which
Yeah.
will be interesting. Another very quick one because we have a few
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
to kill. AFL Evolution 2 on the Switch. They don't have the license for teams for the Switch 2 version. So now you get to make up your own jumper colors and your own fantasy players. That's interesting because I know I've dealt with the AFL. They are interesting. They do like money. So obviously the devs here didn't have enough to give them. And so they're still releasing on Switch 2, but you won't be playing as Hawthorn. Your full forward won't be Mabwea Chol and so on. You won't be able to play Cooper Hodge in your team as a rookie next year. So, no, so yeah, lost poor guys lost the license there. Must have cost too much, and they didn't sell enough. You would think the AFL would still cut him a deal at some sort because it's good for promotion. I mean, I can't believe the AFL. It's worldwide. It's a very isolated game, but compared to other games, it deserves
the television rights
much
sold for
more
like
money.
they sold for like $1 billion every time.
Yeah,
right?
so
you can't tell me they couldn't just say, look, here's 20 million, make a good game.
yeah, so it's not NFL or NBL, right? But I believe it is big enough on the money that it makes that it justifies a real quality EA
That
Sports
just shows how
game.
rabid the fan base is for AFL in Australia.
Yeah, but they'll spend the money, make it a good one. But the AFL won't. They won't spend money because that's not how it works for them. So, but anyway, so AFL and AFL on the Switch 2, it's going to have a name change and everything. Jumper colors will be interesting because I do know, again, having been on the receiving end of letters from them, you can't even they copyright brown and yellow as a color combination. So if you use something which has like brown and yellow,
I assume the Gaelics get away with it because I'm pretty sure Kilkenny's uniform or Hawthorn uniform.
So it'll be interesting to see how their color thing goes because you know how you can't buy Ferrari red from Bunnings because that color's covered. Be interesting to see how it goes with their player and their team creation mode. But anyway, so interesting news for Switch 2 players. I think there would have been far more benefit for the AFL to actually stick with them, especially when you're looking at the women's AFL was in that, and that needs a little bit of promotion because at the moment it's losing heaps of money, like women's sports tend to do. But it's a bit annoying because they say that, and then you go, well, the men's sport they all make $1 million each. Why don't we take 500,000 off them and actually like be equal? And then everyone's going, no, we can't do that. And you go, well, are we really serious or not?
This is the hard part about that, right? If you want to talk about that, it's the quality of the gameplay is going to come down. Like it's the reason you don't have Ronda Rousey versus George.
I get that.
So but I'm all for.
Mind you, the women's AFL is getting better now. Now it's less full of athletes and basketball players, and there's a couple of women coming with the foot. It actually is a lot better game.
And I think the same as the WNBA at the moment. Like everyone hate
you just watch Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA people hate Caitlin Clark, and they do not protect her. She gets poked in the eyes and she gets elbows.
That's because US basketball has a lot of racism in it, and it became during the 80s and 90s. It became viewed as, and this is going to be controversial, right? But it looks like it became viewed as a black sport, right? And so in the male basketball, there's a lot of ill feeling towards the European guys like Doncic and that. Right? So there's And Caitlin Clark definitely gets the women's one, but also I think there's another aspect of, and this is digressing a bit of the women's basketball, is they're also using it as a marketing thing, and I don't like it personally because it looks like they're trying to market it to women by being bitchy and being like catty and that, and that I don't think that serves women in general or the sport any good at all because they're turning into the Kardashians level bullshit.
So the one thing I really liked, and it was funny watching all the the Redditors with sport in the sports channel. The one that they appreciated was there was a big tall blonde girl who got so Caitlin Clark got double
stuck up for her.
She got double foul, and then she grabbed her shirt, fronted her down, fucking told her to stay down.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm like, that's what you want. That's if I'm playing competitive sport. That's why I love hockey. Still,
you want a teammate like that.
I mean, but how old mate got the what's the Richmond player? Butts, is it? No, not he was the one who got hit. It was Lynch. What's the name of the Tigers got 5 weeks?
Yeah, Lynch. Yeah, Tom Lynch is one of those pretty private school boys that's always got away with everything and doesn't understand what boundaries are.
If because who were they playing?
Opinion.
It was Tigers versus.
I met guys like him. I don't like.
Yeah, it was Tigers versus who were they playing? Was it Gold Coast or something?
No, they're playing Adelaide.
Adelaide, that's right. And so, if you are an Adelaide player, he doesn't make it to the car park. It was like when Matthew Lloyd did that. Campbell Brown would have killed him if they.
That's why he retired. But they can't do they can't do as much anymore. But when I can't remember the name of the blonde player that did that, and that was fantastic. But I tell you what, we both played a bit of sport, like low sport, right? Yeah. But you want somebody on your team.
Yeah.
You need it, right? Yeah. And they are underrated, but so incredibly important.
I mean, and because keep in mind, it was what, under 15s, but we won 4 premierships in a row. I remember one time one of our best players just copped an elbow to the face. 2 teeth were gone straight out. And I'll tell you right now, that guy did not make it back to the bench. Like, it was three of us got him, right? 3 of us got him. He did not make it back to the bench unscathed. It was as simple as that. And nothing was going to stop us. Like, they knew. They all come flooding, but being the square object I was, it's bolted at him. Like,
suburban footy at its best. But no, you want that. But Caitlin Clark as a basketball player is, whether she'd be female or male, she is one of the best basketball players, regardless of gender, that I've seen in a long time.
Well, she's just one of the best new prospects. And if you don't nurture your prospects, what are you going to do?
She's just that good. But basketball has a race issue, and it's the opposite of what you'd normally expect. During the 80s and 90s, it did appear to be, and you can tell in the commentary, you watch the commentary and that, it just appeared to be like a black-owned game, and just seemed to be, and so that's what's going on there. But also the marketing, and I think it's being promoted as they're trying to Kardashian it and trying to have that as sort of like, they seem to think that women are going to go, I want to see that sort of spicy conflict stuff.
The new housewives, what is it?
Rather
the housewives of Staples Center,
rather than seeing the best female basketball player that's played so far, and an outright generational player, just rather than just see on pure skills. It's sad that they seem to have they don't want to market that
on that basis.
They want to market it like it's a stupid drama show, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, everyone talks about Steph Curry, but Steph Curry's sister was huge in like the WNBA. Do you know what I mean? But no, people, you barely remember that. So.
Caitlin Clark's something else.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just she's I only watch a bit. I love basketball. I don't watch a bit, but
I hate basketball. Something else for me, but it's the reason I hate soccer. So
it's something else. And just to also, we've gone an hour, but just also to lose more listeners, anyone that thinks LeBron James is anywhere near Michael Jordan has brain worms. Sorry, but in the game now, you can run like 10 meters with the ball. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to sound like an old guy, but it's not the same. It's like, if you think LeBron James is anything other than overhyped tall guy, brainworms.
Yeah.
And Dennis Rodman would towel him up back in the old days.
I mean,
he barely touched the ball.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting because my only thing I like about basketball is listening to Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's the only reason I pay attention to anything about basketball, because it just doesn't interest me like in the slightest.
No,
the only basketball I like is NBA Jam, and I'm very good at NBA Jam.
Yeah,
because I can push people over and just take the ball from them. That's the bit I like. Anyway.
Anyway, we went on a lot of things. So basically, summary of that, Microsoft are assholes.
Microsoft are assholes. Don't be a dickhead in Japan.
Play Helldivers when it comes out next.
Play Helldivers when it comes out on Xbox.
It's worth it.
Immigration isn't the fault of the people who are immigrating.
Don't say bad things about Neil Druckman when Jason's around. He doesn't like it. That's it.
And don't forget that Gerard is the biggest Sony Defense Force fan that you'll ever get. Whenever he says that, it's
that is the nastiest thing that's been said on our podcast ever.
He's forgotten Sega. It's in his past. He's gone to the Jim Ryan.
When are you leaving?
Jim Ryan re-education camps. And now he's Sony Defense Force.
When you say you're leaving,
it doesn't matter when I'm leaving.
That's gonna be a good day.
Yeah. No, it's
calling it a terror threat on that.
It'll be like Sony leaving back to Japan and maybe becoming irrelevant.
Force.
Yes, I mean,
God.
You're just letting Sony off the hook on that one.
No, I'm going to go home and load up.
Your mates down in Santa Monica,
and I'll go home and load up the UK Resistance website. and just cleanse myself after that.
Just crack open your
read some good old Cream the Rabbit stories that he used to write.
GeoCities account, here we come. On that note, if you're in Sydney this weekend, Smash Convention will be there. We'll be there as well. We've got some work there, and we've got a booth there as well.
You're going to Sydney on the weekend.
I am.
You can't even say Melbourne. You're all saying Australia.
Then I'm going to Denmark on the 17th. I'm either going for 2 weeks or 5 weeks, and that hasn't been decided yet. And so I kind of hope it's 2 weeks. So I do want to come home, but at the same time,
are they telling you after you get there? Is it like one of those new work?
Yeah. It's taken straight up taken. Yeah.
They got some sort of ice set up.
Yeah. I'm interesting. Yeah. Well, what are they gonna do? Send me to Australia? Like,
you got dark hair. You don't look local.
Yeah.
Get back where you came from.
I'll go to England and they send me back to Australia. It's like, fucking history repeats, I guess. Like, yeah. What's the charge? Eating a meal, a succulent beef Wellington meal.
I feel bad for her. I mean, she murdered her in-laws, and I don't know. I've just got a soft spot.
I mean,
I would have found her not guilty.
The question is just, the answer to that is just always be more thorough and don't let the husband survive.
She served them in different coloured plates, so she knew which one to put. So if your wife sits down at the table and you've got a different coloured plate, everyone else go, either I'm
waiting for the photo of Gerard on Facebook. There's the family sitting around, and they've all got nice red and white plates, and his is a yellow and white plate. You're just sitting there, just a moment of reflection.
Yeah, eat your beef Wellington, dear.
On that note, let's wrap up. 105. It's good to be back. Thank you for listening for as long as we've gone on. If we've offended you in any way, that's never the intent, and we always do encourage robust conversation. We ain't Elon. If you disagree with us, feel free to tell us, and we'll
who's Elon?
I'll listen to you out. Elmo, what's his name? Elmo.
Oh, the Trump's old friend.
Yeah. The head of the America Party.
He's only going to target a few seats. I reckon he looked at the teals. I reckon he's doing a teal. But that's that story. We could go on forever. Yeah. He's doing a teal, and you know what? I reckon he's got the money to do it.
I think he knows he can pull off 5 seats, and that's enough.
He's going to be the Democrat. Yeah, the Australian Democrats keep the buses honest, although what honest means up a question.
Yeah, well, I'll say people think the Greens are obstructionists. Wait till Elmo gets in, right? Like, yeah. Anyway, on that note, we'll leave it there. Good to talk to you. I'll see you probably next Tuesday as well. We'll try and do 1 or 2 more then. And I've had an idea for a long form one I want to do. I'll float it by after the podcast ends, but yeah. He's not going to say anything. I thought he was going to say goodbye. He just went silent. Fucking hell.
Sad now. You must be sad.
Can't read context cues. Must be a developer. Okay, bye.